Thank you, Acting Speaker. And I'm happy to rise this evening to speak on the Gambling Legislation Amendment, the Pre-Commitment and Carded Play Bill 2024. And this is an issue that I've actually been speaking to venues in my vast electorate about for quite some time. Given that we're on the border and New South Wales implemented a trial in a similar model, it must have been 2022, I think. It may have even been before that. But of course, some of the venues on the New South Wales side of the river, and we're very, very close, we can see each other, could even get there by bus, they were really concerned that it would affect their revenue, pretty much. Now, Clubs New South Wales are a pretty strict organisation. They have some pretty clear guidelines as to what pokie venues and clubs need to adhere to in New South Wales. A part of that is they have to give away X amount of their takings to local clubs. And some of the clubs in my region, Euston Club is one, the Coomialla Club's another one, just to name a couple, give back a huge amount of money to all sorts of community groups. The concern was that it would really affect their bottom line and make their entire organisation less viable, because if everyone had to give away their information, which some are very reluctant to do, then they would simply cross the river. And that's what we're talking about here, which is why I'm glad that the Leader of the Nationals moved the reason amendment with four different points, but the third one delivers a process to protect border clubs from financial drift to interstate clubs. That financial drift that he talks about isn't that far-fetched, and it doesn't go that far. It literally, from the Euston Club, for example, to the Robinvale Club, it takes about 6 minutes to drive. And they both have courtesy buses because that's part of that's how you get people in the door. You go to their door, pick them up, bring them, and it works cross-border. If only everything worked as well cross-border, it would be wonderful. But it is a real concern because there are, particularly this time of year, it is our busiest time of year in our region with nut harvest and grape harvest. There are a lot of itinerant workers and backpackers. The backpackers are finally back to do their 88 days. There are a lot of people that do not want to give any details at all to any organisation, much less a government organisation. So you can see how they would be reluctant to take part in this. Now, Acting Speaker, I am not a fan of pokies, of poker machines, but I am a fan of the venues that house them. And it was the Working Men's Club, once famous for the longest continuous bar in Australia, and the Gateway Hotel in Mildura that first raised these concerns. And I've spoken about the very valid concerns that both CEOs from those venues had about exactly that financial drift that they would see going over the border should mandatory carded play be introduced. Because it's very realistic and it's a very, very large concern. So the CEO of the Gateway Hotel, Gordon, raised a really good point, really valid point. And he understands the recommendations from the Royal Commission. He understands minimising gambling harm, as we all do. No one's saying that we don't want gambling harm. But also no one's saying that this is actually needed either. If we look at the New South Wales example, that did turn into a trial, and that trial didn't really go anywhere. I think in Penrith there was 25,000 members at the Penrith club and 25 signed up. So that shows you how much want there is for this. Mind you, if problem gamblers want to gamble, they will give over details. But Gordon had approached me first and foremost about this with some really valid points. And he said he knows that there are venues that don't do the right thing, that don't practice the responsible service of gambling. And he had said that all the government has to do is start enforcing licences. So when a venue breaches the codes, suspend their licence. Suspend their licence for 10 days, second strike, 30 days, third strike, you're out. That will soon make sure that every venue adheres to the code. It's pretty simple. And it doesn't affect that cross-border issue, which is the one that I'm really concerned about for obvious reasons, because there are many, many venues on the Victorian side as well as the New South Wales. I mean, New South Wales are rubbing their hands together because they dropped it pretty much as soon as it began, and they realised that no one really wants this, it's not really going to work, don't really know how to go about it. And the volunteer trial that they ran had very little uptake. So New South Wales are very happy at the moment if this was to come in Victoria, because we are in a real bind, particularly on the border. So I would hope that the government, these are really reasonable, I mean, there's nothing controversial in this reason amendment put forward by the Leader of the Nationals, provides evidence that its reforms will reduce gambling harm, because in this legislation there isn't actually any proof points that say that mandatory carded play will. In fact, when New South Wales ran the trial, they dropped it because they couldn't make it work. It evaluates and reports on the feasibility of new technologies such as facial recognition technology and automated risk monitoring systems. These are things we've already got. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. These systems already exist, pretty easy to implement. And delivers a process to protect border clubs from financial drift to interstate clubs, and improves parliamentary oversight of the reforms as well, which is also key, so we actually know what's working and what's not. So, and again, no one's saying that we don't want to reduce gambling harm. Of course we do. But the other risk we run with this is that people will stop going to clubs. They'll stop buying their pot of beer, having a meal perhaps with family. The social gamblers, and like I said, I hate pokies, but if I'm at a club on the way out, I might throw some money in. I may as well drive past and throw my wallet out the door because I never win a thing. But it's that social element of the odd $10 here and $10 there that you'll completely lose, as well as the interstate, the cross-border stuff. But what will also happen here, we will push people to gamble online, where they can pretty much do whatever they want. So you'll end up with those that need help most losing their homes in their homes. And how's that going to be beneficial? Again, this needs much more clarity than where it's at now, because honestly, that driving people to gamble online, and they will. Sports betting as well. I mean, the advertising of sports betting surely needs to be, and I realise that's not our jurisdiction, but surely that needs to be legislated first and do away with that. Agree. Absolutely. That's what should happen first. But if we make carded play mandatory in Victoria, not only do we risk losing and the ultimate demise of pokey venues who are already struggling, and they've just signed a 20-year agreement for all of these machines. Let's not forget that. So we're 1 year into a 20-year agreement and that they're being faced with this. That puts them in a really dangerous spot for these community clubs and other pubs and pub venues. But driving people to gamble, and they will find a way, online in their home, in a completely unregulated space, is surely much dangerous, and that needs to be dealt with first.